So it was magnetic then, right? You said?
Yes, it was. It
wow.
is.
I mean, that is absolutely stunning, because from what you're saying, because we talked about Herodotus, excuse me, it sounds like it almost proves what he's saying, that Herodotus, that they used iron in the building of it. Who does he? Is this true? Two questions. Does that kind of sound like that's true? And also, who does he attribute to the building, and when? Who built it, the Great Pyramid?
Yeah, again, in accordance to Herodotus, he says, yes, well, the pyramids are done in the 4th dynasty, but with a more, so to say, sophisticated technology as we believe today. And for me, it's not a surprise, because when I started my work in the wake of Tohayadon, everybody told me, forget about this, it's impossible, you can never attack against the wind, it's physical-wise impossible, but this is what modern science means, doubting the knowledge, pushing the limits. And again, we should not only focus to Herodotus, because, being frank, we have two other breakthrough evidence of the use of iron in Egypt. I am holding here two papers what I got delivered by my dear friend Robert Bawal. One is published in 1942 in the Journal of Egypt Anthropology in 1942. The title is An Occurrence of Iron in the 4th Dynasty. And I can tell you, I have this paper here in my hand, the finding was done by Professor Reisner, a well-known Egyptologist in the beginning of the 20th century, and he made findings of iron oxide in front of the pyramid of Mycerinus. And the investigation was done 40 years later with modern device with so-called spectrogrammetry, and the English experts could prove iron in front of the pyramid. And I have here a second paper. The title is also fascinating. Metallurgical investigation of an iron plate found in 1837 in the Great Pyramid at Giza, Egypt, made by an Egyptian and English expert. The two authors are called Gaillard and Jones, and both authors have investigated with the modern technology in the end of the 20th century an iron plate found by Hill in the famous expedition of Howard Weiss in 1837. Wow. And what is remarkable in this study is that they came 100% independent of our investigation to the same results and to the same conclusions. And the major conclusion of this paper, and everybody can find it in the internet, this is not hidden archaeology, hidden Egyptology, it's well published in Egyptian journals, and the major result of this paper of 1989 is, first of all, this plate is made by a prehistoric kind of iron. This plate found by Hill in 1837 is made by a very simple process of manufacturing, and it is made in a low temperature method. It's the lowest temperature possible how to make a primitive iron plate. Unfortunately, this scientist did not have this XPS investigation method what we additionally used in 2013. That is why they could just say, yes, iron is a major material in this plate, what they found inside in this southern air shaft. I hope the people understand what I'm speaking about. Also when Howard Weiss worked inside of the pyramid, Mr. Hill worked outside with a lot of gunpowder. Also he investigated these air shafts which go out of the king's chamber in the northern and southern direction. And he could find out with tubes that almost short in front of the surface, this shaft was blocked somehow. And so he climbed up of the pyramid, on the pyramid, with some gunpowder. He evaporated 6 blocks about, it's not sure, but about 6 blocks. And with a long tool, he could throw out this iron plate. It has a length of about 20 centimeters, 26 centimeters, and the other angel is about 12 centimeters long. And yes, and we have here in my hands, I have the scientific proof and this is not Scientology or Eric von Däniken stuff.
Yeah, this is legitimate evidence.
Stuff. This is a scientific investigation published in 1989 that this plate is authentic. This plate is made by simple iron, what we call today magnetit, and it is made in a very simple way of producing. And it's confirming the estimations I mentioned already. Flinders Petrie, he also investigated this plate in 1883, and he came additionally to the same conclusion. The ancient Egyptian used iron. There cannot be any doubt. This is Flinders Petrie words, not my words.
So we can see all the scientific.
Different beams from past, modern times, and future. We have to rethink about the modern concept, how we perceive ancient societies.
What happened to the rod? What happened to this piece of metal? Because obviously we would be able to test it now. Where is it?
But it's still alive. It's still stored carefully in the British Museum. And Robert Bawal, by the way, even was kindly enough to send me pictures what he did personally with his old picture camera in the 90s. And yes, with this paper I could confirm my own results, what we have generated in our institution in Germany, and I can tell you this is what we called Quad erat demonstratum, what we intended to prove. Again, modern science never delivered the ultimate truth, but modern science delivered new data, new aspects of the time before the time. And again, to cut a long story short, what I have in my hands here is confirming to 100% our own expedition results. But one thing is different between the study of Jones and Gaillard and ours. The problem of these two guys is that modern Egyptologists still have concern about the authenticity of this iron plate, because again, as I told you, Hill discovered this iron plate after exploding about 6 blocks, and he took it out with a hook. And this is what modern Egyptology is saying today. Nobody can say exactly what is the origin of this plate. Yes, maybe the Egyptians used it for making this shaft or closing this shaft, but it is in fact, and I have to agree to modern Egyptologists, theoretically it is possible that Arabs or Romans or whomever put it before Hill in this shaft. It's theoretically possible.
Yeah, that definitely makes a lot of sense.
Yes, but this is the importance of our investigation.
Right.
Again, we are not the first. We are not the master of disaster. We are just asking scientists, keep going asking questions. That's why I would not overestimate the importance of our discovery, that we did discover it. The importance lies in the meaning of the result, because our layers, this so-called black patina, I call it always black tongues. It looks like a tongue. These black areas are in the original circumstances. It is how the ancient pyramid builders did it, because on some blocks which are not broken, especially on the southern sides, due to the enormous pressure from above, the granite beams are broken, especially on the southern wall. And that's why you cannot see exactly if the material goes underneath of the stones or not. There's only one position on which we have a very clear, strong black tongue, also these black areas, and only half of this split goes through the tongue. The other half, the stone is not split in 2 parts. And on this very rare position, you can see it on the photographs I made from 30 centimeters distance, that this black area goes under the knees of the stone. And this can only mean following. Either the substance were put during the construction place, or it was already before the stone was put in the position on this stone. There's no other explanation. It cannot be later, because the substance definitely goes under the other stone on which the granite beams are laying. cannot be any doubt.
So there's obviously no outside contamination, and it had to be there originally, essentially, during the building.
As a scientist, you should never say it's impossible, but in accordance to all available data, factors, pictures, I must state tonight, yes, the material goes under the nave of the stone, and this can only mean, yes, it was already put on the stone before the block was put in its current position where it is today.
I mean,
this means, yes, as you said, in a better English, this material couldn't come later times on the surface of this granite beam.
To me,
and this makes our observation so important to close the circle. What us scientists have discovered and investigated, okay, it's iron, but it was never an ultimate proof that it is originated by the fourth dynasty. Somebody could put it before. Somebody could put it in. But what we have discovered in our investigation in April 2013, we have found 18 black areas which are still in the original position, which are still going under the knees of the stone, which deliver clear evidence for the use of this material before the stone was put into the complete construction.
And I appreciate, I mean, this is pretty stunning stuff, but I appreciate how you yourself are really only willing to take it so far. You don't want to really infer too much from what that could mean. You only want to present the evidence of what you have, and that's what any good scientist does. And the funny thing is that what you're saying here now is not really what you have been getting, what you got in trouble for. Another part of the project was to go into the other area where Howard Weiss was, and this is really where you kind of got into supposedly the trouble. Talk about that part of the project.
This is it's easy to explain. Based on the change of the investigation method, it saved us hours, because getting this few milligrams took seconds. I was ready before the inspector returned, and this was not to hide anything because it was so quickly.
It didn't take long.
To get this few milligrams, put it in a glass and storage it, and then when the inspector returned, yes, we asked him, listen, we are ready. What, we are ready? Yes, we are ready. Went much faster than we expected. Everybody. It was never in our minds to climb up. We were even not prepared. And Stefan asked his tour operator, we have paid for 2 hours, why not go up in the relief chambers? And apparently everything was fine. Nobody did have any complaint about what we did about our surface investigation. Yes, let's get a little bit of this red ochre from Howard Weiss, which is so controversial, discussed over 200 years. And again, I have to bring this story where it belongs to science, not to politics. Why in the world nobody has investigated a tiny piece of this few nanogram of this color? And this was our second totally unexpected expedition goal. And after the tour operator has spoken with the 2 inspectors, he came back, yes, we can go to any place. The 2 inspectors erected the ladders. It was quite difficult. And once the leading inspector came to me and put in his jacket this permit, what we had, all of us, I said, listen, with this permit, you have no limitation. You can go to any place if you like. I said, yes, we want to go up. Yes, you can also go down. No, I want to go up. And I never expected to go alone up to the relief chambers, because I was never before there. Stefan decided to stay with the tour operator, inspectors. I expected that one of these 2 inspectors is coming with me, because it was the most risky thing I ever did in my life. I crossed the Atlantic Ocean with 13 storms. We sailed in 10 Beaufort storms with an Egyptian-designed recraft. This was not dangerous at all. What I did there, this was my dangerous operation ever. The ladder was so unprofessional, positioned in front of the entrance of this tiny shaft which goes in of the first relief chamber. I cannot tell you how dangerous it was. Without having my Explorers Club cup on my head from New York, I'm also a member of the Explorers Club in Manhattan, I would never have done it. be sure. Also my cameraman was an experienced climber. I'm not a climber. He climbed like a monkey inside of the shaft, but I had my difficulties also with the equipment to come in the shaft, and then nobody followed me. I said, "Are you kidding me? I don't want to go alone. Please come up. Somebody has to come with me." Nobody came. "No, it's not dangerous. Go up, go up. You can take your operation alone." What shall I say? Yes, we climbed up. I found a narrow, as with a minor importance. It's even not sure if what I have tested is really ancient, because there are so many paintings, etc., etc. What shall I say? I hoped it was authentic, and apparently we tested some authentic. But what shall I say? Yes, I never had in mind to touch the cartouche. I made a huge detour around the cartouche, because it was in fact not necessary to get this color from the cartouche.
So
finally, they are not,
and that's what you're yeah, that's what you're charged with. You're charged with taking samples from this really important Khufu cartouche, which is considered holy because it connects to when the pyramids were built. It says who built it, and you're saying obviously right now that you took samples from that area, but clearly you didn't take samples from that actual cartouche.
Scientifically wise, there's no need for to damage this inscription. Why? Because you have this red paintings almost, I don't want to say everywhere, but there are many, 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 and there was absolute no need to damage this inscription, which apparently belongs to Pharaoh Khufu.
So you took samples, obviously. So what they're charging you with, obviously not true. You took samples from somewhere else. What?
Again?
Yeah, please.
Tiny pieces. It's the same as also here I asked the people in the institute, please wait it. No, impossible, makes no sense. It's too little, even to put a balance in the middle of the table. Forget about it. It's just too little. It was also a tiny, tiny amount. And again, here, it was not in my intention to get even access to the relief chambers. But when we were there, yes, it was the curiosity was so high. We had the unique possibility finally to test one of these red ochre painted drawings, because it's so easy with modern technology just to have a look and see what's the nature of this color. This is, I'm asking all listeners in the radio, why modern Egyptology has not proven or has not done this testing. Because I can, as in accordance to my opinion, these inscriptions are not in this importance what mainstream is discussing about them. Yes, maybe they are authentic, maybe not. But just in case it's authentic, what does it prove? Of course, as we have my English, we have the place where the stones were broken. We have tools there, wooden findings. This is carefully dated. We have the quarters of the pyramid workers. It's carefully dated. There cannot be a doubt, in accordance to my opinion, that the pyramids are roughly of the middle of the 3rd millennium before Christ. Everybody who is telling the difference, please, yes, it might be, but please, you have to prove it, not to speak about it. About Atlantis, about the ancient aliens. Yes, you can believe in this. I'm not, it is theoretically possible. Okay,
yeah, you're not discounting it.
We are living on a planet 1/3 from the center, 2/3 from the center of our galaxy, what we call Milky Way. It's for sure that we cannot be alone in this universe.
Yeah, mathematically.
Yeah, mathematical wise. But if aliens have made these structures, I'm speaking about theoretical questions, it would just postpone the question about the origin of this technology and knowledge just to another planet. Then we have to speak about economical, scientific, sociological factors which created this knowledge about stonemaking to another planet. And for me, it sounds not very convincible to speak about a different planet.
Yeah,
we have to speak ancient man's capabilities.
I've always found it that we kind of like disrespect ourselves, our past almost. And for those who are proponent of the ancient alien theory, because what you're kind of touching on is, I've always found that to be a little, I don't want to say not disappointing, but maybe a little hurtful that they can't think that we as humans are even capable of that. I don't know why we have to attribute that to aliens. You know, we definitely have those capabilities, and we're touching on the fact that agents so did they.
Let me be very brief.
Please.
I'm always trying to think in 330 degrees, 360 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
Theoretically, it is in fact possible. As many amateurs believe, many esoteric believers, they can believe in what they want to believe, but the facts are the facts. And the fact is now, after our investigation and after the investigation of Garrier and Jones, they measured equal to us, simple iron. How in the world would an alien land with an extraterrestrial spaceship made of a stupid, primitive made iron? As such if a modern extraterrestrial hyper society would have made the pyramids, they would also have used the modern material available in their own society. That is why, for me, it's out of any question that it belongs, to speculations, but not to real science.
No.
And the same belongs to this color. You cannot date color. Many people accused me. We wanted to redate the pyramids. We wanted to demonstrate that Dr. Sayava said yes. They wanted to prove that King Solomon made the pyramids. That the Jews have made this world heritage. Sorry, how can a scientist be so mad? You cannot date color. It's minerals. You can only date by C14 dating method organic substances, but not a color. And what color? Red color. It was in the early Stone Age made by metal, and even modern color today is made of iron oxide. This cannot be a surprise.
Why can't there be... So you said that before that there really hasn't been any carbon dating done on the pyramids. Or you didn't really say that, but there really hasn't been any done. There's no material at all that can be carbon dated?
No, that's not right. There are modern C14 datings inside of the pyramid. I have it published in a book, but I'm not sure. I don't want to say anything wrong because some enemies will use this wrong thing.
Yes, I know. I don't want to put you in that position.
C14 datings made by scientists from Switzerland. And I just want to quote roughly about this result. They took, was heißt Myrtle? Oh my God, my English. Myrtle, give me 1 second because it's too important to be exact. It's called plaster.
Yes, plaster, right.
They used plaster and they could find organic material and they could date it about 400 years earlier than the official dates are.
Oh.
But for me, yes, maybe it is, maybe not, because you have to say maybe the trees were 400 years older. It is an indication, it might be possible, but the facts are the facts. Again, we speak about the living quarters of the pyramid makers. We speak about the areas where they have broken the stones. We have tools there. Many stronger proofs, evidence speak for an authentic time, somewhere between the middle and the end of the third millennium before Christ. Oh. And that is why, for me, this scholar investigation was never in the main focus of our investigation campaign. Because, yes, it was just, let's call it pure curiosity. Okay, we do some surface investigation. Why not put a little bit of the substance under an electron microscope and just have a look? What's inside? Just for curiosity, and this is why we flew already to the moon. That is why Columbus did rediscover America. That is why in the next 20, 30 years we will return to the moon and finally, hopefully, to the Mars and later even in the galaxy, because it's our curiosity which is pushing us forward.
We've got to keep asking the hard questions.
At this moment in the pyramid, we did not get any restriction, limits, complaints by the accompanying inspectors. He advised us, he supervised us. I never wanted to climb alone, and if somebody would have followed us, I'm sure he would say, yeah, if you take something from there, nothing will complain about you. Because Stefan Erdmann has already collected several samples from the relief chambers in 2007. But in this time, and now I come to the scandal.
Yes, please.
Cartouche was already damaged before.
Right.
This is thanks to also to be frank and open as a scientist. I arranged a scientific conference close to the city of Colonia, which a huge success. Many people came. We put everything carefully on internet, put it in the YouTube channel. Everybody could see where I found it, how I collected the samples, because I could collect the samples from a car or from wherever. I wanted to be sure that everybody can be an eyewitness, because in those days, I still believed I'm not guilty. I did it with a permit. That's why we downloaded everything. And it was not done in a midnight crime. We have not punished the police. We never have bribed the inspectors. We mentioned everything, and that's why we believed in this. I'm speaking now in the area of October 2013. After the Congress was ended, we uploaded everything in the internet, and then the four speakers of the Egyptians Heritage Task Force, Mr. Osama Kara, found our video trailers. Maybe he got an advice from Germany, but it's not important to speak about this today. Right. Important is that Osama Kara went to Dr. Sari Hawass, the former Minister of Antiquity and ex-manager of the Giza plateau, and also about the pyramids, and accused us to have damaged the cartouche, because this was in the video we made. Our video makers made it not very favorable. It was just a raw cut, and it was not a final movie or whatever. It was just a raw cut, and in this raw cut you could get the impression, yes, we took the samples from the cartouche, but in fact the pictures clearly stated that it was 1.5 meters away from the cartouche. But to cut a long story short, for Dr. Sari Hawass, it was a home run, to say it in American language. Finally, he could accuse German private researchers of having damaged the fingerprint of God, the ultimate proof that the pyramids were made by Pharaoh Khufu. It's even not for sure that's authentic, but that's a different story. And the world jumped in the subject. As always, the press people repeated all these accusations. Just one example is the Life Science magazine from New York. They elected me in December 2012 to the most crazy scientist of the world. But shall I say, I never expected to get such an honor so young in my life. Yeah,
that's such a prestigious award. I'm sure you'll put that one on your trophy award.
How in the world can a scientific paper so mad without checking the facts? And this is, they are accusing us such a crime, but without any evidence. And to cut a long story short, fortunately, Hawass was so mad also to accuse Robert Bauval to be involved in this affair, that Robert Bauval bribed me in the name of some super rich Jews from Israel to have damaged the cartouche. And by a coincidence, a very good friend of mine of New York, a former sponsor, Ken Hayes, from Aqua Survey company, invited me to come to New York to give a lecture to his Christmas party in 2013. I was in the middle of December 2013 in New York when Robert Bauval called me via Skype first time. We never knew us before. And how in the world Hawass could accuse Robert Bauval to have bribed me to damage the cartouche? And I introduced myself to Robert Bauval. Listen, I am also overwhelmed as you. I have no idea what Hawass is speaking about. We never touched the cartouche. We had a permit, we were supervised. I cannot understand the accusations. In the meantime, a good friend from Switzerland brought me in contact. This was already in the end of November with the Supreme Consulate of Antiquity. We apologized immediately with a long statement, with an affidavit to Minister Mohammed Ibrahim, who was at this time the Minister of Antiquity. The Ministry of Antiquity gave us a silent mediator, a German-speaking Egyptologist who was very brave, very gentleman. I don't want to call his name, not to bring him in trouble. He made an excellent job in communicating between Stefan Erdmann and me with Minister Ibrahim. We offered the samples, we offered full cooperation. We, with the help of Robert Bauval, we have apologized with this biggest media agency from Arabia. It's called MENA. We have written a long interview with the journalist, and the journalist also put this interview to Minister Ibrahim. This was in December 2013, and 2 days later Ibrahim made a statement: yes, we will not penalize Germany for this crime. It is no crime.
But somebody had to take a fall guy, had to be the fall guy, and I'm glad to hear that it sounds like everything's pretty much cleared up, even though you didn't do anything wrong. You had all the evidence that says in the world that you did nothing wrong, so pretty much you're getting your name cleared of something that you didn't even do, which is fantastic, but someone had to take the fall. You were surrounded by security guards. Didn't some of them get in trouble or even in prison right now?
Yes, they came later to the prison. To understand the madness and the real political scandal is a fact. Already in December 2013, I have to say this in English, the people from the government knew everything. We have written affidavits, we have put them pictures, photographs, they had already our video records, everything was visible. We have hidden nothing at all. And in the long talks with this guy from the Supreme Consulate, I have spoken with them. Listen, it was never our motivation to do this. I don't want to repeat myself. He said, listen, the minister understood fine. But we have very strong competitors, people from the old Rhine of Havas. They are attacking you. They are attacking the minister. They are attacking the inspectors. That is why we cannot solve the problem in this days. We have to wait until Mohammed Abdel Farouk at least will be retired in the end of this year, in 2013. And one of the last operations before Mohammed Abdel Maksud became retired, he created a second team of inspectors, and they climbed in the pyramid in December 17th, 2013. And there, they discovered at the first in modern times that the Khufu cartouche indeed has 4 damages, apparently made by a tiny incision. And this, in the end, in the beginning of 2014, I'm speaking about now January 2014, did convince Dr. Monica Henner, Egyptologist from the American University of Cairo. This is the ultimate evidence. The Germans lied us, they tricked us, they did not tell the truth. This is the picture proof they have damaged the cartouche in 2013. It was senseless, it was helpless to say anything. We became our judge, our verdict long before the Kurd case ever started in Egypt. It was for sure for everybody that we have damaged in April 2013 the cartouche. And then Robert Bauval came to the bright idea, let's check some older pictures in my archives. And this is an incredible story. He is a very good friend of Professor Robert Schoch from the Boston University, as you might know. Yes, I've actually interviewed him. He's fascinating, but right, and he gave them some photos that he had from earlier. You cannot believe this. It's a real story. It's a real story. Even a textbook writer for a cinema movie cannot invent such a story. Yeah, truth is stranger than fiction, as they say. Yes, absolutely. This is a nice thing. I have to storage this. Yes, Robert Bauval found some former pictures what he apparently got from Professor Robert Schoch, and he sent it to me to beat me free, at least in Germany. And it took not longer than 1.5 days. Robert Bauval got a very nasty letter from the American Egyptologist Colette McDowell, or something like this, or Colette Dowell. She was a former girlfriend from Professor Schoch in those days, 2006. Together they made pictures from the cartouche in 2006. And that is why, by a very nasty letter, Robert became denied these pictures, and I also was mentioned in this letter, if I further use these pictures, I will get a verdict from America if we use this picture anymore, from McDowell. And so I must stop this campaign in Germany. Robert did the same in his Facebook. Even Facebook closed for 2 days his Facebook page. And so in an interview, in a telephone conference between Robert Schoch, Robert Bauval and me, we asked Robert Schoch, please send me an authentic picture, please, what you have personally done. And Robert Schoch said, yes, I send you tomorrow morning a new picture, and this you can use for Spiegel and other large newspapers in Germany, said you are not guilty for damaging the cartouche. But it was Robert Schoch who said that this damages, I've made pictures earlier, you cannot be guilty. And next morning, it was about 10 o'clock in German times, oh, Robert Schoch sent me the picture, and I opened these pictures, and my heart became a heart attack. These pictures has shown no damages on the cartouche.
Oh.
I said, Robert Schoch, you are kidding me. You bring me straight to the prison. If I publish these pictures, I'm guilty.
Yeah.
This liquid proof that the cartouche was okay in 2006, and we provided the damages. I immediately called Robert Bauval via Skype, and it was midnight in American East Coast time. We called in the midnight Robert Schoch, and he definitely slept. We waked him with his call. I was an ear witness of the talk between Robert and Robert on the other side of the ocean. And Robert Bauval explained to him, listen, we are bringing in danger Dominique with these pictures. You made a mistake. This picture cannot be from 2006. It has no damages. And he said, yes, I made a mistake. It was a wrong archive. It was from 2003 or 2004.
Human error.
I made a mistake. You have to, I sent you a new one. And this picture was indeed from 2006. And it has shown this carefully presented 4 damages, what the inspectors have detected in December 2013. And this was the ultimate proof that we were not guilty of damaging the cartouche. The pictures from 2004 has no damages, and the pictures made by Professor Schoch from 2006 has exactly in the same positions the 4 damages what Havas and Dr. Monika Henner have accused us that we were responsible.
So now, legally, about the case, you showed the Egyptian authorities you're all in the clear, right?
Yeah, but I have to say again, I must thank the American Egyptologist Colette Dowell or McDowell. Without her and her verdict not to use her picture, we would never have found it. Thanks to Abora or whoever was responsible for this, give me 1 second.
No, please.
For this prohibition.
Yes.
Not to use this picture, we would never have found it out. It's a pure coincidence based on this ban from Monika Henner, Colette McDowell. We would never have searched for other evidence. And by pure coincidence, quasi, we found out, oh my goodness, the cartouche was still totally okay between 2003 and 2004.
Are you going to be stepping foot anytime in Egypt soon? Are you allowed back in there?
No, my last stay in Egypt was in 2002 when I did my Abora tour expedition. We sailed from Alexandria with an Egyptian designed retrieve to Cyprus and back to prove this copper contacts. And it has also to do with the pyramid affair. Maybe we come in the end if we still have enough time.
Oh wow! You did what a mess for you. I can't imagine.
This is a real crime. This is a story as from Arthur Conan Doyle about Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson. Finally, Robert and me, we called us Hi Sherlock, Hi Watson, how are you? Because we dived like criminals into the subject to find out who has quoted what and who has accused what. And in the end, with this new evidence, and I really have to thank Robert Bauval for his efforts to beat me free. He also studied former documentaries with Sayavas. When he gave his Pride interviews in front of the cartouche, he always says, can you smell the antiquity? This is an authentic living evidence that the pyramids are real and not made by the aliens. In the meantime, I agree with him, but he is pointing with his fingers, again and again. over the cartouche. And in this video records, you can carefully see the 4 damages. And this observation causes new question. This guy, he calls himself the most experienced Egyptologist in the world. Why he did not see these damages? Why he did not perceive them? And if so, why he did not say anything? And in 2013, when we became accused by the Egyptian authorities, he was not a responsible Egyptologist anymore. Why and where from he didn't knew that we finally touched the cartouche when he was not in charge anymore. He's a fairy tale teller. He's telling always lies, because in his interviews he accused Stefan Erdmann and me to have done with the cartouche. He stated he never gave any permission to Stefan Erdmann and to other private researchers. But in the end we find out in 2006, when Stefan Erdmann has started his private investigation in the pyramid, Havas personally signed the permission for Stefan in 2006.
Yes, I
can
mean,
you believe this?
Well, if you want to know the truth, I can.
It's awesome. I lost my language when I'm speaking about this.
Oh no, it's what a mess for you, and all the proof there says that you guys are completely innocent. So anyone who looks at the evidence from the outside clearly says that you didn't do anything wrong here, and you had all the permits, and you're pretty much, I want to say within your right, but you believed you were within right to do everything that you did. And to me, everything seems justified. And and you're just a scientist really trying to, like you said, expand science. Once we have new information, we need to accept it and see and have a new perspective on it. And just to kind of sum up what you were talking about, what do you think now, after the evidence that you've gathered, after the research that you've done in the pyramid? What do you think? Who do you think? You think the Egyptians built it, but what's your interpretation on who built it, and really, why did they build it?
Also, with such a technical investigation, we can never identify the motivation. So this is one of the biggest difficulties for any archaeologist. When we speak about why and for what purpose they made something like ships or rock drawings, we can only speculate. It's impossible. The archaeologist has a problem to identify what the crane mother has discussed with her crane son showing cleaning potatoes. Maybe we find the potatoes, maybe we still find a knife, and maybe we even find the skeletons of these 2 former human beings. But we can never reconstruct what was the cultural message between these 2 human beings. And the same counts for the pyramids. It's impossible to say anything about what is the purpose of these buildings. It's impossible to say with our data from which period it was made. But what we can say today is that the technical capabilities were much higher developed than we are able to prove by modern archaeology in this moment. Maybe in 2 weeks some Egyptian archaeologists find something else what is bringing again deeper light in what I have explained tonight. But important is to understand that we have to be very carefully when we are trying to investigate ancient societies. In the meantime, I have to say this in English. In the meantime, we intend to underestimate the capabilities instead of overestimate it. I try to do either not overestimate or underestimate those societies, but what we can tell, the explanations of Herodotus are apparently right. We definitely have observations, pictures, and technical investigations which are demonstrating that, which are confirming this old papers, what I already mentioned, that iron was probably known in the 4th dynasty. This is confirming what Herodot has stated about the construction. they use in accordance to my opinion, and this we will publish by an exciting book and also publish with our expedition movie, which we will do after the whole court case is closed, finally, here in Germany, that this will carefully published in this to media products, how the ancients lifted these stones. I'm an experimental archaeologist. We have already made such a granite block in a scale of 1 to 80, also it has not 70 tons, it only has 15 tons of weight, but we are trying to demonstrate with ancient tools how the Egyptian lifted these huge granite blocks, and this will be the capstone on the pyramid, because with many modern researchers we have wonderful explanations how the small stones were transported. I'm dealing with many Egyptologists also in Germany, engineers worldwide. We have the complete picture together, and now we have, let's call it the ultimate evidence how these huge granite blocks were finally transported, finally lifted in the altitude where the ancient architects have put them on the position where they are today.
Absolutely fascinating. This is some, really stunning work, and you're really opening up our knowledge about the Egyptians, and I really appreciate that. And what's next for you? How do you think we can continue this research, or how can we maybe even come closer to proving the true?
We have to speak about two aspects. First of all, we have to do this experiment, which will happen, I would say, in March, April.
Okay.
And this, because we cannot wake up Pharaoh Ramses or Pharaoh Cheops. We have to be very carefully when we are reconstructing such processes. That's why it's in process of knowledge. We never reach the far end. It's impossible to answer these questions concisely. It's just one attempt to interpret our own data. The other question is where is coming the iron from? And also we have to ask the antique authors. We get clear knowledge from Herodot where the material is coming from. He is speaking in his history books about Pharaoh Sesostris, the first one, that the ancient Egyptians got their metal from the Black Sea. There is the area where we have to search for the source of iron. And I can tell you, based on, as I'm an East German, I grew up in East Germany, behind the iron border, so to say, so iron has a special meaning for me. I could never imagine to got to know to Heyerdahl personally. I was a very good friend of Betty Meckers from the Smithsonian Institute in Washington, that I finally could meet all this person, these researchers, which influenced my scientific life. I'm very grateful for all this happening. And also, I have also good contacts to Russian researchers in the Ukraine, but also in Russia. And I can give you out the secret. We probably found the iron mining, where they did it, in the middle of the 3rd millennium before Christ.
Wow. Well, I can't wait for when you come out with more information about that, when you have something a little bit more concrete, and we'll have to continue this conversation, because there's a lot to quite frankly wrap your head around right now with just the pyramid and what we were just talking about tonight. And the work you're doing is I just first off want to thank you for doing that, and obviously coming on tonight and talking about it.
I can tell you, you are the first journalist what we spread the truth out, and we are hoping that when I departed with Abora 3 in New York, it has changed my life a lot, and I hope this new radio interview will also change my life, or at least bring it back in a normal level. Because due to all these accusations, you cannot imagine how much it hurt my private life, in my university, my friends. I got so much criticism from all over the world about this activity that, yes, of course, sorry. It's hard to say I'm sorry, but yes, it's for sure that we did not everything well. This is now after we have all this complete knowledge, and I also deeply regret that still our 6 Egyptian friends are still sitting in the prison for a few milligrams of patina. That's a scandal. These people has to come free immediately.
Is there anything that a listener can do about? Dominic, I was just wondering, since you brought up the Egyptians again, is there anything that our listeners could do to help them out? Is there a charity online? Is there anything that our listeners could do to help them?
Yes, please go on abora.eu. We are collecting donations for the Egyptian Sikhs to support the families, to support them to finance their own laws, because they have to pay incredible much money for their Egyptian lawyers to beat them free. They have already appealed in front of the Egyptian court to go in the appealing process, and it's for sure that they are not guilty to have done a major crime in the 21st century. We all have apologized in front of the Ministry of Antiquity. Our approach was pure scientific, pure cultural. I have to defend our Egyptian inspectors, the tourist police, also our tour operator. We never had in mind to damage Egyptian antiquity. And the same counts for our Egyptian companies. Please, Egyptian government, let this 6 Egyptian poor human beings free. Our penalty is big enough after this almost 1.5 years of struggling with the media, accusations. Of course, we will have also a verdict in Germany. We now finally have an agreement with the German court. We accepted our penalty. It's a minor crime. Yes, we should never have put these samples out without having a special permission. I have to acknowledge this. I have to take my responsibility, say yes, mea culpa, I did not everything well, but what shall I say? Based on the story of Stefan's former investigations, he never became any critics, he never became any penalty, everything was fine, everything was okay. The people on the Ministry of Antiquity knew him before. What shall I say? We are cooperating with the Egyptian authorities. We do everything to make everything obvious, also to bring everything out to the surface. And what we did was no midnight crime, and so I can ask for sympathy the Egyptian authorities that finally the new president of Egypt, Sisi, will understand that the whole operation was to emphasize the Egyptian heritage. It was never to harm the Egyptian heritage. The Egyptian society in the antiquity was much higher developed. It is, as it is written in the textbooks, this was our motivation, and I hope somebody will respect this in Cairo, especially in the court, especially in the justice system, that they will have understanding and sympathy also for our Egyptian things.
Yeah, I think anyone who listens to your story and gathers the evidence, probably realizes that, and objectively speaking, that you weren't trying to harm them. You were only trying to really help in any sense. And I'm going to keep my fingers crossed for you, the guards, and everyone involved, and hopefully we can get the best turnout possible for this case and for you and your family, and hopefully we can get you back to some sense of normalcy, because you deserve it, and for the hard work that you've done, and you're trying to help, from my opinion.
Let me ask you, please. I can send you our data for the check account where we are collecting these donations. Maybe you can also have to broadcast this on your webpage, that people can donate to our international check account on our bank from our Abora Association. We got a huge amount of donations also from the Egyptologists from England, as I told you already, Sarah Shepard, Dimitrol. They are also supporting our activities, and this is what we have to bring it back. We are living in the 21st century. It has to come back to science and not to politics, and the 6 Egyptians has to become free.
And just share the social media, the websites that you have one last time before we let you go.
It's abora.eu for Europe, and I will send you this data again.
Wonderful, and I already have it up on the website, so our listeners can check it out. And you send any information you want, and we'll obviously post it up on all our social media site. And Dominique Goerlitz, I just really want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. Our conversation turned into it a little longer than we probably both expected, but I really appreciate taking time out of your schedule to give us that time.
Also, thank you for your efforts to bring the truth to our American friends. And I really look forward that the whole affair will be over in the next couple of months, and so that the people have a clear knowledge what really has happened in April 2013.
Yeah, and you'll have to keep us posted, and we'll keep our listeners updated on everything that's going on. And I can't wait to talk to you again, because you're a bit of a renaissance man. You're doing a little bit of everything, and I love what you're bringing to the table here.
Thank you so much. And yes, what else can I say? We need a renaissance. It's definitely needed. If you look to the world, we have to come back to our origins. Yeah. And our origin is science, culture, and civilization. Not struggling, war, and other things.
And that's the perfect spot to leave it off. And thank you so much, Dominic. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Our Egyptian trilogy has sadly come to an end. Big thank you to Dr. Dominique Goerlitz for really sharing his side of the story and shining a light on really what happened on that fateful day a couple years ago. You can check out all his links at our website, the main one, themindseyemedia.com. Once more, themindseyemedia.com. And for daily news on politics, history, science, music, sports, the spice of life, any of your passions, like us over at our Facebook page, facebook.com/MindsEyeShow. Let me say it again, facebook.com/MindsEyeShow. And finally, we're coming back to the present day on the next few shows. Starting next week, February 17th, 2015, our guest is Dr. Scott Bond, professor of criminology, who's going to be talking about his book, Why We Love Serial Killers, the curious appeal of the world's most savage murderers. And big thanks, of course, to the listener who this show obviously would be nothing without you. Join me next week. I'm your host, Brian Turnoff. This is The Mind's Eye Show on Z Talk Radio.
سلام سلام مغامرة يلا روز معي سلام سلام افرح معي سلام سلام مغامرة يلا روز معي سلام سلام مغامرة غني معي سلام سلام مغامرة يلا روز معي سلام سلام افرح معي. When true hearts believe they're invincible, our hands can build the impossible. The story told is the path we chose. It's not in vain.